In 1980, in the stark beauty of a Canadian winter, Radha Dith arrives in the town of Dalbeau, Quebec.
I knew about winter from the movies, that snow fell. But to come here and touch the winter.
Radha Dith lost his father and brother in Cambodia's killing fields. He is part of a tide of refugees to find sanctuary in Canada. Just before Christmas, in this northern Quebec region, residents raise $125,000 in a single day. The small town of Dalbeau welcomes 100 refugees. Marie Potvin and Marcel Fortin open their home.
I told myself we are a big country. We have space for a lot of people. Why not them? They are working people, they want to live, and they are proud.
In the years ahead, the refugees will become part of Canada, new citizens of a country learning to define itself in a new way. This is a time of revolutionary change, of winners and losers. Old enemies and fresh longings threaten to divide the country. And soaring global visions promise dramatic change.
The future of Canada is at stake. I need your help.
Canadians will launch a rights revolution. Mary Eberts will help transform the place of women.
If governments do not see our place and our voice in their assemblies, it is up to women to bring the point home.
Elizabeth May will begin a national crusade from her kitchen table.
It was their job, and it was our life.
And Baltej Singh Dhillon will challenge the very image of Canada.
And how we do as a country is going to be judged globally.
In an uncertain world, there is upheaval and opportunity. In the backcountry of Alberta in the mid-1970s, a treasure hunt is on. As turbulent politics in the Middle East drive up oil prices, Alberta's resources are more valuable than ever. For geologist Jim Gray, these are the glory days.
Let's drill that well. Let's take that land. Let's not talk about this for the rest of the day. And let's not have a bloody committee. And if we fail, we'll fail big. But if we win, we're gonna win big.
Gray's company, Canadian Hunter, hits the jackpot.
It was a great moment of self-satisfaction, especially when you find it, where everyone said not to go.
Adventurers fan out across the province, digging into the earth, hoping for a lucky strike. Other provinces watch with envy as Alberta booms. 4,000 people a month flood into the province, looking for a share of this modern-day gold rush. For a while, it seems as though money really does grow on trees. At Calgary's Petroleum Club, new Canadian millionaires rub shoulders with American oil company presidents. The big players swap tales and make deals. Jim Gray thrives on the energy.
Everybody wanted to be in a big building. Everybody wanted to have a corporate airplane. Young people with 3 or 4 years' experience were getting together with some other friends and starting their own oil and gas company.
But as Albertans revel in the good times, Premier Peter Lougheed prepares for battle with a formidable opponent. He's clashed with Prime Minister Pierre Trudeau before.
He said that as far as he was concerned, the resources didn't belong to the provinces, they belonged to all Canadians. Don't you think that's reason enough for us to be concerned?
Ottawa and Alberta are heading for a showdown about who controls Canada's energy resources. Late into the autumn nights of 1980, a small team in Trudeau's energy ministry is working on a sweeping plan.
On behalf of my colleague, the Minister of Energy, Mines and Resources, I am tabling tonight the Government of Canada's National Energy Program.
Albertans can't believe what they're hearing. With the National Energy Program, Ottawa takes control. The federal government will ensure that all Canadian provinces share Alberta's wealth. Ottawa will encourage Canadian oil and gas exploration from sea to sea, and it will favor national companies over foreign firms. The government calls it a made-in-Canada solution. Albertans are outraged.
Ottawa government has, without negotiation, without agreement, simply walked into our home and occupied the living room.
Lougheed strikes back. He cuts oil production to slow down shipments to central Canada. Protesting the Canadianization of the industry, some American rigs pack up.
I was wondering what you thought of the federal government's energy policy.
You want me to give it to you in my own words or something that sucks?
Jim Gray is furious about the threat to his industry.
It is unraveling before our eyes. It is being torn apart by vandals.
That winter, some angry Albertans talk of separation from Canada.
We used to be very proud to be Canadians out here, and now that pride is gone because we feel we don't matter.
Small political parties form. Their theme is the same. Ottawa will not dictate to the West.
Western independence is our only chance to stay.
After months of negotiations, Trudeau and Lougheed hammer out a truce. But the agreement comes too late. Suddenly, oil prices are tumbling. As unpredictably as it began, the boom is over. But Westerners don't blame world markets or the looming recession. They blame the NEP and Ottawa. In the years that follow, bitterness against the East grows. In the mid-'80s, Jim Gray hosts a meeting in his office with a politician who pledges bold action. Gray soon signs on with Preston Manning's Reform Party, a political movement promising to make Western voices count. In his Montreal apartment, Laurent Leclerc imagines a utopian future for his infant son. He dreams of 3-month-old Benjamin growing up in a magnificent new country called Quebec.
We were hoping for something different, a different country. Warmer, more open to the world. And to give that kind of country to our children, that's extraordinary.
Laurent Leclerc celebrated the Parti Québécois victory in 1976. Now, 4 years later, René Lévesque's government will hold an extraordinary referendum. The carefully constructed question asks permission to begin negotiations on sovereignty with an economic association with Canada. Quebecers feel they must search their souls and choose their country, Canada or Quebec.
That there must be a loyalty to Canada before there's a loyalty to any one province.
Laurent Leclerc's parents are firmly against sovereignty. Liane and Jean Leclerc hope their grandson grows up in a united Canada. With passionate conviction on opposite sides, the Leclerc family keenly follows the referendum campaign.
D'en arriver avec le reste du Canada à une nouvelle entente fondée sur le principe de l'égalité des peuples.
For the first time, proceedings are televised from the National Assembly. With a masterful performance early on, the Parti Québécois pulls ahead in the polls. René Lévesque's common touch draws fervent support. Lévesque knows his main challenge will come from a man he's known for 25 years, Pierre Trudeau. But for now, his adversary keeps a low profile.
We insisted, in addition to speaking the language of reasons, I've tried to do tonight in...
The No campaign, led by Quebec Liberal leader Claude Ryan, fails to arouse much passion. Watching from Ottawa, Trudeau sends in reinforcements. His spirited Justice Minister, Jean Chrétien.
La vérité va sortir, et la vérité pour nous, c'est la liberté. C'est un Québec fort dans un Canada uni. Merci beaucoup et bon mot.
That spring, across the province, Quebecers passionately debate oui or non.
Vous donnez des cadeaux comme ça gratuits à tout le monde qui tend la main? Non. Hein? Mais si le fédéral passe son temps à nous donner de l'argent, qu'ils nous fiche la paix, on va s'arranger tout seul. À eux de l'utiliser. Qu'ils gardent leur argent. On n'en veut pas de leur argent.
On peut continuer de rester avec le Canada. Hein?
Mais pourquoi? Qu'est-ce que c'est le Canada pour vous? Dites-moi ce que c'est.
Tout ce qu'on a aujourd'hui, tout ce qui nous revient, les pensions, protéger un peu, surtout. Hein?
In the rest of the country, too, Quebec's referendum stirs up strong opinion.
Go ahead. I think I speak for a lot of people here in BC and Western Canada. It's got to the point that who cares, you know? So they leave. Big deal. They've cost us enough money.
I'm calling from Newfoundland.
I personally think that it would be heartbreaking for Canada to break up, because I think a yes vote is the beginning of the end.
Mais on peut gagner, on doit gagner, on va gagner.
As Referendum Day draws closer, support for the oui side is dropping. And then a Parti québécois cabinet minister stumbles.
Yvette, sa petite sœur, est joyeuse et gentille. Je vous prierai d'écouter, ça va vous faire du bien.
Lise Payette, a high-profile feminist, belittles women who support the no side by implying they are submissive Yvettes. It's interpreted as an insult to all homemakers. The no side quickly seizes the opportunity, filling the Montreal Forum with supporters. The Yvette rally is a huge boost for the Federalist campaign. And then, just a week before the vote, the Prime Minister weighs in with one of the most powerful speeches of his career.
Bien sûr, mon nom est Pierre Elliott Trudeau. Oui, Elliott, c'était le nom de ma mère, voyez-vous? C'est ça, les Elliott. Puis mon nom est québécois, mon nom est canadien aussi. Puis c'est ça, mon nom.
It is at this rally that Trudeau makes a historic pledge.
Et nous vous disons, à vous des autres provinces, que nous n'accepterons pas ensuite que ce nom soit interprété par vous comme une indication que tout va bien puis que tout peut rester comme c'était par avant. Nous voulons du changement, nous mettons nos sièges en jeu pour avoir du changement.
Many Quebecers interpret this as a promise of fundamental change to Confederation. But Trudeau doesn't spell out what he has in mind. Referendum Day, May 20th. There is a massive turnout at the polls. At 7 o'clock, Laurent Leclerc and his wife Ginette watch eagerly.
It was the evening of the century, the evening of my life. I said to Ginette, let's go to the Paul Sauvé Arena. We must go to the Paul Sauvé Arena.
By the time Laurent Leclerc arrives at the Paul Sauvé Center, the oui side is behind.
Le oui 106 678, le non 131 960.
At the no headquarters, victory is delivered within the hour. They win with close to 60% of the vote. Laurent's mother, Leanne, is meeting her husband at the local no headquarters.
I had just heard that we won, so I expected the place to be euphoric.
Instead, Leanne Leclerc finds her husband stricken. He's just seen their son, Laurent, on television.
Our son was crying because he lost. And we were happy because we won. Couldn't be totally happy. Our son was crying.
Si je vous ai bien compris, vous êtes en train de dire à la prochaine fois.
For René Lévesque and Pierre Trudeau, another battle looms. But first, both men must turn their attention to a faltering economy. A summer evening in 1981. At the Gladstone Hotel in downtown Toronto, workers from the Inglis appliance factory gather after their shift. No one here realizes these are the last days of a way of life.
It's not really much that I think of, but on the 600th time, at 2 every minute.
Workers on the Inglis line make a good wage, but they can't keep up with spiraling inflation anymore. Union President Mike Hirsch is worried.
Everything just went crazy. Prices were ridiculous. Inflation was through the roof. Life changed in 1981.
Interest rates climb higher to fight inflation, up to 29% on credit cards, up to 22% on mortgages. Like many Canadians, Lise and Roger Ricard of Valleyfield, Quebec, are falling behind. When their mortgage payments almost double, they're forced to sell their house for less than they owe on it.
Très mal. Parce que quand on commence à s'acheter une maison, c'est pour se bâtir une famille, puis vivre pour le restant de nos jours. Puis une journée à l'autre, il dit, si t'as plus ta maison, ça fait quelque chose.
The country, the whole industrialized world, is in the grip of a crushing recession. In Chilliwack, British Columbia, the slump hits hard.
The politicians are telling us, you know, we know that you may lose your job because of tight money. We know that you may lose your home because of tight money. You know, we know you may be next to starving because of tight money policy. But we know what we know what we're doing, so have faith. Well, you know, here it is. This is a company that'll never come back.
Unemployment hasn't been this high since the Depression. In Winnipeg, finding work is a daily struggle.
Sometimes I just feel like going back up north. So maybe I'll just go back up there. Maybe I'll have a better chance.
For many days and many nights, I've been walking on the picket line.
The climate is getting tougher for unions, too. There's no longer enough for both business and labor to do well.
I got my friends.
In 1983, when Mike Hirsch defiantly leads a strike, negotiations are markedly different.
The unions were on the run, and management went for the jugular. Management became far more aggressive, and the unions far more intimidated and defensive than they had been before.
It's a cruel time to be on strike. Eddie Muir takes shifts at a supermarket to make ends meet. Dave Parker borrows from his brother to scrape by. Some strikers even petition to go back to work. After 39 painful days, it's over. No gains, but the workers have kept their jobs for now. Everywhere in Canada, a tough new attitude is taking hold. The stage is set for conflict, a clash of values that will define the 1980s. In the summer of 1983, the Vancouver punk band DOA rehearses in its East Side basement studio. The band has a growing counterculture reputation for its spiky protest songs.
We're tired of working. We're tired of working, yeah, working for nothing. We all want what we got coming. All we need is our break.
These lyrics are directed at Premier Bill Bennett, known in the province as Tough Guy. As British Columbians suffer through the recession, Bennett embraces the ideas of British Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher and American President Ronald Reagan. Like them, he wants to cut back the social welfare state and encourage private enterprise.
The country had lost its sense of values. There was no way out. You couldn't sugarcoat it. We had to take it on the chin.
Budget calls for major change.
The Social Credit Government launches 26 pieces of legislation. They drastically curtail union rights, slash social programs, and cut the civil service. On July 7th, Renata Shearer's job with the Human Rights Commission disappears, along with the commission itself.
Our reaction to this crisis and attack was first fear, then confusion, and finally outrage and movement.
What do we want?
Democracy!
When do we want it?
Now!
Renata Shearer becomes one of the leaders of a rapidly organized coalition known as Solidarity. The movement calls for a general strike.
And I'm not usually a radical or militant type, but I think that these bills call for that.
It's the biggest social protest British Columbia has seen, but Bill Bennett has approval from many in the private sector, like businessman Jimmy Pattison.
We were really down on our knees in the early 80s here, and it was the restraint program and the policies of the government that made a major contribution in helping turn this thing around out here.
Other governments watch closely. The Trade Minister of Ontario, Frank Miller, believes British Columbia will be a bellwether.
If Bennett succeeds, I think every government will end up doing the same.